Our guest, Blue Claws head groundskeeper Mike Morver. I guess we should say former head groundskeeper Mike, stepping aside on the full-time basis, but I know we won't be able to keep him away from the ballpark. Michael, welcome. How are you?
Good. I'm doing well, Gregory. How are you doing?
Doing just fine. So what led to the decision to kind of step away? And you've been the head groundskeeper for probably a decade now, and with the Blue Claws another 4 or 5 years before that.
Well, we had our first baby in October, and last year really hit home doing 16-hour days, and I'd rather be home for my daughter as she grows up. So, even though she's only 3 months currently, don't want to miss those months, and I feel that I should be home for her and for the family. And working in minor league baseball 16 years, believe 12 as the head groundskeeper. Only having 3 head groundskeepers in the organization, me being the third one. It's a tough decision, but I'm making the right decision and stepping away. And want to be home for her and travel a little bit more than I can, travel a little bit more in summer and, go to places that we haven't, and just make sure, that I'm home. And that was a big thing is the family life, with her being born in October. Even though my wife was on my staff, my brother was on my staff, it's just, you can't keep doing it after.
Yeah.
So the 16-hour days killed me. Last year, my staff will tell you the third inning I was falling asleep. So, I think it's time for me to step away.
Yeah, beautiful Mackenzie. So you're gonna have to play her that clip when she's old enough to understand.
Yes,
and you could tell her about your previous life as a head groundskeeper. Actually, I never thought of it. We're like the Pittsburgh Steelers. They've had like 3 head coaches in the last 40 years. We've had 3 groundskeepers in the last 20 years: Bill Butler, Ryan Ratcliffe, and then yourself. So that'll be interesting.
Yes.
What are you going to miss the most?
I'm going to miss the team aspect. Just the players, the coaching staff, obviously our front office. My main thing, what I'm going to miss is, the atmosphere and the relationships that I made with the Phillies over the 16 years. Still talk to them, still talk to the former coaches on an everyday basis or once a week basis, talk to Marty, Sean, and all those guys that are still with the organization. And, just going out there and putting a pattern in the field. I mean, luckily that I can still do that at my current job at Middlesex County Vocational School. I have 3 fields that, hey, if I want to go put a pattern in the field, I can. Just the luxury of doing that. And, so I'm not entirely getting out of baseball or sports or the grass world. I'm still going to be in the grass world. But that's the biggest thing is the coaching staff and front office. Obviously, I made a lot of friends at the stadium and, learned a lot from Ryan. And that's got my career started out of high school at the stadium.
Of course, we're sponsored by Rich Green Lawns, the leading lawn fertilization company of the Jersey Shore. They provide lawn, non-turf, tick, mosquito, tree, and shrub programs. Now's the time to think about core aerating and seeding. 732-370-5963 or richgreenlawns.com. So you worked with about, 10 or 12, right? Different managers with the Blue Claws, some for a few years, but obviously you work very closely with the pitching coaches because of the mounds, and the hitting coaches or the other coaches are dealing with the infielders to make sure the infield is all good and everything. So, I mean, you're talking about probably good relationships with 30, 35 coaches not to mention the coordinators that come in here and there throughout the summer.
Yes. And, that's the biggest thing. I go down every year to spring training. They all hug you and they, wish you the best and all that. They ask you how you're still doing how you're still doing it all and that kind of stuff. And I told everybody in the Phillies organization, plus Kevin and Joe also let everybody know in the Phillies organization. And, it's going to be sad, but like you said, I'll still be around at the ballpark and doing all that kind of stuff.
Well, I'm sure if Marty Malloy makes a visit, you'll cut any vacation that you had short to make sure that you're here for that.
Or even Sean, I mean,
Yeah.
what do we have Sean for 2 years?
Yeah, 15 and 16.
15 and 16, and those years were fun. We went to Great Adventure probably 3 or 4 times with Sean, and we rode King Dakar 20 times in a row because Sean loved King Dakar, and every time I go see him, he talks about that, and he talks about our relationship. Same thing with Marty. I wasn't, I was close with Marty even when Marty was a coordinator this year. I was still close with him. He still calls me every day or every other day, and those are relationships that you can't get back.
Did Marty ever call you back after we called him at the holiday party?
He did. He texted me and he goes, he wished everybody Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, and he goes, the picture of Joey that I sent him, he goes, that's my boy.
There you go. Well, I don't know where Sean's I don't know. We don't know where the coaches are going yet, but if Sean's in Reading again, where he's been, now you can go visit him whenever you want.
Correct. So that was always the hard part. Always tried to figure out when he, obviously when Trenton was Trenton, trying to figure out when the Reading Phillies were coming in. Our luck, we were always home when
I know.
when they came into town. But last year I was able to get out to Reading, and awesome stadium. Can't wait to see the improvements at that stadium. And like you said, I'll be able to go whenever I want now at this point. And that's the whole goal, is to get the family and the daughter out to many ballparks, see many ballparks and other sites. In baseball, it's hard. Your summers are pretty much at the stadium.
I know you'll be there this year on April 8th, though, of course, right, for opening night.
If I'm invited back, I'll be there.
Oh, you can come. If nobody else invites you, you can come as my guest.
I get a media pass that day?
I'll give you a media pass that day. You can sit in the booth.
I like that.
Although apparently we're moving. We got a smaller booth this year. That's what I heard.
That's what I heard too. I think I actually put new colors on the wall last week or 2 weeks ago.
Thank God. It was blood red, fire engine red. It was a little on the loud side. All right, so we know you'll be back. We know you'll still be around a little bit here and there, but certainly we want to thank you for your great run with the Blue Claws. Did you ever think when did you start? Like, what were you in college at the time as a part-time assistant?
I started in 2006. I was in high school. I was under Ryan at the time, undecided if I wanted to be a phys ed teacher, with my family all being in education. I was like, well, do I want to be a phys ed teacher? Or do I want to go into grounds? And the goal was to become a head groundskeeper at a major league stadium. Well, that goal has changed.
Yeah.
Still would love to do it in my retired life one day.
I don't think that's something you do in your little retirement job on the side. But
I also started my career back when I was a little kid at Holbrook Little League. I played baseball there. My dad was president, Mr. Spall, which was on my crew. Took care of the fields there. I enjoyed the fields, taking care of the fields there. His son Danny now is at Balderstraw as assistant superintendent, was with me through his college career and high school career. He worked through the Votech program. So the Jackson to Holbrook connection's been close through, and once I graduated high school, I said, you know what, I'm going to go into this baseball field. In 2007, I became the assistant under Ryan. 2008, I was the assistant, and then in 2009, I entered Rutgers University, got my 4-year plant science degree, graduated in 2010. I was like, I went down to Walt Disney World, did an internship. So I worked the 2010 season with Ryan, came back for the retirement of Ryan Howard's number.
Yeah, I remember. That was a crazy night.
Yeah, I flew in that night. I said, Ryan, I'm coming to work, because obviously I didn't I didn't take any money or anything, but I was off from the golf course. And then I came home. I worked 2 jobs. I got a job as assistant superintendent at Glenwood Country Club for two or 3 years, and then the job opened up in 2015 as the head groundskeeper. While I was at Glenwood, still in grass, doing all that. I figured, you know what, I like baseball, might as well stay in baseball, and that's what I tell everybody that is going to get in the turf. Try to do baseball, try to do golf course, because you can always fall back on a golf course. Like, I can easily go to a golf course, tomorrow if I wanted to. But baseball is very specialized, and learning that through Ryan, through Holbrook, and, I always enjoyed baseball. Like I said, thought I was going to be a head groundskeeper, but, at a major league level, but that dream, it's still always there. If something opens up, you never know. I might, apply for it or something like that. But baseball is the heart and soul of my life. You get every mini bat that stadium we go to.
That's true.
You're still on the hook for that, by the way.
No problem.
But and that's the thing is, baseball is life, and I'll still be around the stadium, enjoy going to spring training, and maybe I'll just be able to enjoy a Thirsty Thursday one day. Never.
Oh, absolutely.
My guys are we're in a group chat, and Jeff and my brother and Matteo and Shaughnessy, we're all like, well, we might be able to join Thirsty Thursday. That might be my retirement party one day, a Thirsty Thursday.
I like that. Maybe we'll do the broadcast from down there.
So I had a solid crew my whole career there at the stadium. I'm gonna miss them, but they're all not coming back because Matteo has a second job, has a real job as an electrician. My brother's an educator for Carteret, plus baseball coach, plus football coach. My wife is obviously going to be with me.
Yeah.
And then Jeff has a full-time job. He might, come back and help the new guy out. But again, not forcing anybody to come back. Appreciate their service and everything over 16 years.
Well, we're gonna miss you. We're gonna miss you for sure. You've been a big part of the Blue Claws over the last 15, 16 years, and especially on the last number of 8, 9 years as the number one guy. So we had tons of fun, and we're certainly going to miss you. But we're not going to let you. We're going to ask you actual groundskeeping questions though before we say that.
So now I gotta think.
Oh yeah, we're putting you to work. I think your paperwork said December 31st, but this isn't that. The last day was December 31st, but we're taping this on January 4th, and I don't care. So we're gonna make you think. So you talked about the golf. You said you did baseball before you did golf, right?
Yeah, so I did base. Obviously, I started my career in baseball, and then I went to golf.
I know you kept saying that you always want to fall back. You could always fall back to golf, but baseball is kind of like the true passion. What's the biggest difference? What makes baseball for you kind of like the top end?
Just going out there and taking care of the infield dirt. That's 98% of my job as a groundskeeper, taking care of the dirt. You got to really know how to work that infield mix and water in the dirt, because if you make it too wet, obviously they're not going to have traction. The main goal is when you water the infield is you want to get that water down into the profile. So obviously right before pregame you see us out there watering. We're not adding that much water. All that water comes up, all that moisture comes up at nighttime, the infield. So a baseball player's cleat is supposed to go right into the dirt, right out, not leave any like chunks or anything like that. You know how they dig with the diamond dig, they make a whole bunch of chunks. So that is like perfect when the cleat comes in and out, that clean, it's perfect. That's how a baseball infield is supposed to be. And my second thing would be obviously the mounds, because had rehabs over the years, and the Lakewood Jersey Shore Blue Claws are always fortunate never to get an outfielder, always get a pitcher or an infielder. That's
Is that true?
Well, who did we have this year? We had a pitcher.
Well, we did have Shane Victorino. That's going back 10 years now, though. And that was the first year of the new field, 2011.
Yeah. And when Shane was there, that was awesome. He was a hell of a guy.
Yeah, he was awesome.
He was awesome. But
you might be right, though. We might not have had any other. I'm sure.
No, we get an infielder. We get it. We never.
You're right. We had Carlos Ruiz.
Never seem to get an outfielder because I'm not saying like, hey, an outfielder is easier, but they're going on the grass.
Well, we had Hazley this year.
Yes.
For like 2 weeks.
So we had 2 outfielders.
Off the top of my head, it's possible. Yeah.
Because I think when we had Kingery, he played outfield and infield.
Not here. No, he only DH'd him. I think he DH'd one game and played second base one game.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
he was here. He might play when he moved up. Yeah.
But that's my biggest thing is like, making sure that for a rehab, making sure the mounds are perfect. Obviously, making sure the mounds are perfect every single day, day in and day out. Because that's where like people are like, well, the grass looks good. Great, the grass looks good. I don't care about the grass. I care about the actual playing surface. Right. And that's the infield dirt, the batter's box, and the mound. And a lot of people go, well, what do you do during the game? Well, I sit there for the first 3 innings and make sure that, the mount's right, the batter's box is right. My biggest fear, and it happened maybe 2 or 3 times in my career, I had to run out and fix the mount because the clay was too.
It happens when you get a lot of rain. It's not tarped because they're playing. It happens.
Yeah. So but if it happens on a dry day, yeah, that's my fault.
Oh yeah, but it doesn't happen on a dry day.
No, and a lot of the times, like when you have to go out and refix them out, it's because we're a lot of people. I forget sometimes that we're minor league baseball, and we're out there constantly, doing PFPs and pitchers fielding practice and all that stuff before the game. So, then you got to go try to repair it real quick, and then the clay doesn't set up properly, and that's when you have to go fix the mound, or the pitcher's just a little bit picky.
When you were, did you do the Mickey Mouse bunker?
I didn't. So I did not. When I was in Disney, I was on Lake Buena Vista Golf Course. 2 years after that, Arnold Palmer took over the management of the Walt Disney World golf courses, and they added a Mickey bunker to number 12. I believe it's number 12.
Wait, that's relatively new?
At Lake Buena Vista Golf Course. There's 4 golf courses at Disney. So, but I was fortunate to work the Children's Miracle Network Classic in 2010. And that was probably one of my one of my overall best experiences. That was, the best. I was the one that raked the bunkers to begin with. So we raked the Mickey bunker every single day. And then I was with the foreman at the time. So we started at 3:30 in the morning. We would go rake all the bunkers by hand, make sure they're, the rake, we would rake it towards the pin every single day. And then our second job after, the sun came up and all that right before play, we had to go back. And if a animal ran through a bunker, we had to touch it.
Re-rake it. Yeah.
Yeah, we had to re-rake it. So that was one of my jobs. I was with the guy that was doing the course setup for the day, cutting the cups. And the best part is that I don't think a lot of people know is the PGA puts the pin where it needs to be. So they don't allow you to cut the pin. I don't know if this is still true, but in 2010, they don't allow you to cut the pin placement until the tour agronomist is there and he checks it when you cut it. and make sure that the paint didn't drip on the cup and the flag is straight. And then he checks it to make sure like that's the correct dot that they drew that day for that. A lot of people are like, well, that golf course is dead. Well, they don't run irrigation the whole time when a PGA comes through, because they would like it firm and fast. Seeing that firsthand is eye opening.
That's interesting. I never knew that.
Yeah, so like you'll see, like if you watch it, you see the course dead, pretty much. So they're doing a lot of moisture readings, and the PGA Tour agronomist is there doing a moisture reading, and if it's the superintendent goes, hey, I need a little bit of water, and he goes, okay, turn them on, but just make sure there's no one, like if it was a practice round or something like that, or they were on say hole 5, and we're going through to starting to fill in the divots for the next day, and then the green is reading in the low moisture. He's like, hey, turn it on for 5 minutes, but make sure no one's looking. Yeah, so you got to make sure like the whole
who won the tournament?
I don't honestly remember in 2010, but that was their last tournament there, and then they did the big renovation when Arnold Palmer took it over. They're trying to get the tournament back.
Robert Garrigus, -21.
And won the Miracle Network
in 2010.
Yeah. So I mean, that's going to see that and actually working at that's a great feeling. Saw Phil Nicholson, obviously wasn't allowed to get close to him or anything like that.
Yeah, golf tournaments are a lot of fun. If you go as a fan, I used to go to the practice round, like Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, when they had the US Open at Bethpage in 2002. My English teacher had tickets for the whole week, but he couldn't take off a whole week of class. So he gave them to me and one other guy, a buddy of mine, and we went out for the practice round. And then I also went to Wingfoot a couple years later when they had the PGA there at Wingfoot. You go to the practice rounds are a lot of fun. Walk around, and the Bethpage Black one was the public course. It was the first time they had a U.S. Open on a public course, and it was a big to do. Tiger was there. They were booing. I remember them booing Sergio Garcia in the practice round because he was taking forever. Because he just stands over the ball forever. Yeah, and he was doing it even in the practice round. It was pretty good. So yeah, those golf tournaments are a lot of fun. So you get there 3:30, and then you wouldn't leave at sun sets at 7. You're probably still working because they're playing all the way through, right?
Yeah. So what would happen? We would do 3:30, and then whenever sun came, like whenever the first, so say tee time was at 6, we would do all the stuff first, and then we would go back, and then you cut the cup once the tour grinder gets there. So, and then you got to touch up, and then if you get called back out because say Tiger dunks it in the hole and ruins the hole,
yeah,
on the side they have to go recut the cup. So you can get called back out, so you can't really leave. And then Thursday, Friday, and Saturday after play, like once everybody teed off, we went back out and started filling divots behind that. We mowed fairways, we recut greens. We recut greens every morning. We did double cut on greens. We rolled them, or we rolled them at night. So I was actually fortunate at night that I wasn't a bunker guy at the time. At that time, I actually spotted for the greens mower. Since there's no dew on the greens or anything like that, I would stand there and make sure when the guy made his pass.
So he didn't cut the green word like beyond the border.
Yeah, and then or he didn't cut the same pass twice. So I had to like line him up when he came back and stuff like that. So that, I mean, I was fortunate to have a good job. I didn't have a bad job or anything like that, filling in fairway divots or anything.
You gotta be golf groundskeepers got to be more nervous. That's got to be one of the more nerve-wracking jobs in sports, right?
I would say yes, yes and no. I mean, obviously baseball, you can't really play in the rain too much. Golf, you can play in the rain. Um, there's no infield to worry about. I mean, obviously, if it rains, the puddle, you just go squeegee out the puddle off the green or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, I would still say baseball's still more nerve wracking because you got to make sure you get that tarp on the correct way and make sure you get it on. You got to have the umpires believe in you that
The mound.
you're gonna make the right call. The mound and bases obviously are slippery. So you got to make sure you're prepared. I mean, like I tell everybody, I can go to a baseball field and put a tarp on pretty quickly, or I could go to golf and go home when it starts raining.
All right. Will you delete the weather app from your phone?
No, no, because I still need it for school. Still need it for my current job.
Will you check it less?
Probably not, because we start baseball in March at school. So once June, July hit, yes, I will check it less. Just because I don't need to check it every single day. I mean, once March hits, I check that weather app every single day, probably every 10, 15 minutes. My phone's dead by noon.
Yeah.
So, I mean, let's put it this way. The best thing is I'm not going to have to worry about making a wrong tarp decision. We don't have a tarp at school. So,
even better.
Yeah, so we have a pitcher's mound tarp and a home plate tarp, a couple bags of conditioner. If we can play, we play. If we don't, we play tomorrow. So I don't have to worry. Wake up 3:30 in the morning. Who's going to show up for tarp?
Yeah.
You're gonna miss those emails.
I always used to suggest to you patterns, and you always ignored me. And it's too bad, because I actually just thought of a beach ball in the outfield would be perfect. And if you ever, that'd be really cool. Like, on the main logo, the primary logo, you have the guy surfing in front of the beach ball. That would look great on the field. So now you have, if you ever get the itch, carve a beach ball into the Middlesex Vo-Tech field. They will get a big kick out of it. The Liberty Bell is the gold standard.
Yes, and
those are brutal.
Yeah, the Liberty Bell. I mean, even when Bill Butler did the skyline in New York, at City
with the it was Shea at the time.
Shea. He even did an awesome New York Rangers one when he was in Staten Island. Those are awesome. I mean, it's sad. But I look at a baseball field and I'm like, ooh, that pattern's not that good.
That's natural.
I even look at people's home lawns and look and say, oh, that person striped their lawn. Not striping it with a mower, striping it with fertilizer burn and stuff like that. I mean, it's in my blood. I look at everybody's lawns and I'm like, ooh, some are awesome, some are great. But I just, my head's always on a swivel when I'm driving and trying to, now with a 3-month-old and trying to try to stay focused on the road. It's still hard, but right now, obviously I can do that because it's cold. So we don't have to worry about mowing patterns or anything like that. But, like I said, opening day, hopefully, the new groundskeeper puts something in good for opening day. Because obviously people do enjoy looking at that kind of stuff when they come into the ballpark.
So what, I know last year we had a pretty good winter as far as the grounds and the field are concerned. So far, so good this winter. I know it snowed a little bit this week, but nothing crazy. We haven't had that, stretch where it's been below freezing. It's barely been below freezing at all. What would constitute a bad winter or a good winter for you as a groundskeeper?
A bad winter is snow all the way up until March. Snow covered field. I think I want to say 13, 14. I took our plow to the field. And I remember this Danny
Oh,
Spall.
really? I didn't
Yeah,
know that. Yeah.
I took our Kubota plow, and then Danny Spall was with me. We cleared the field. We did it very gingerly and all that stuff. And he was in the plow. I was guiding him and that kind of stuff. And then we also
You got to be careful because you could probably pretty easily take up the grass.
Yeah, so we didn't really we had the Kubota plow at the time, our little RTB. We didn't put the plow all the way down, so there was still like a little sheen of snow. But that's the only time, like, because we had work to do. We had to get the field ready. I believe we were coming home pretty quick. I think we had practice the 29th and 31st of that year. I could have the year wrong. I had to get the field graded. Luckily this year I already got the field laser graded. The warning tracks are already laser graded. All the mounds, all the bullpens are done. So somebody that's walking into this job is going to be pretty much set in that aspect. But a good winter is obviously no snow. Snow is the grass's number one insulator over the winter. So you could get some snow. If we get some snow Friday, that's great. 1 to 2 inches if it melts pretty quickly. Even if we get
if it rains Friday, it's gonna melt Sunday if it rains Friday.
Yeah. Even if we get like a 6 to 12 now, hey, listen, it's January, it's gonna melt. You just don't want that snow to come in March. But if we do get snow in March, it does melt pretty quickly because the atmosphere is warming up and the days are getting longer.
When would you first cut the field?
So I would probably do my first cut. So I normally would do an aeration in March, obviously weather depending, first or second. Well, I normally would scalp the field down to 1 inch or lower to wake it up, usually March 1st. And then March 2nd, March 2nd, 3rd, 4th, I would punch some holes, throw some granular fertilizer down. And then depending on our schedule, I think this year they open up on the 8th. Around the 15th, I would start putting the pattern in, because that helps also get the grass going, get it laid over, get the pattern into the field. And I mean, I usually don't put the opening day pattern in. I usually just design it. I have Kyle or Danny, Kyle Roach, which is at Manasquan, and Danny Spall usually come back or put the pattern in to help me. I was very fortunate that they loved sitting on the mower for 3 or 4 hours and putting patterns in throughout my career. Obviously I can do it. I like to share the love, and anybody that's worked with me, I'm not a person that's going to sit on a machine. I'd rather be doing the physical hands-on labor, laying the sod or anything like that. I mean, you can ask Jeff, you can ask my brother, you can ask anyone that's been on my staff that they drive the machines, and I'm the one doing the physical work. It's just who I am and how I always will be till I retire, or go to the grave.
Well, Mike, we appreciate a few minutes. I want to keep you all day here. As I said before, you always be a big part of the Blue Claws family, and we will see you at the ballpark, I'm sure, on April 8th, and I'm sure before that as well. But thank you for joining us. I promise you this will not be the last time that you are on any airwaves or digital airwaves with me. So all the best, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, Gregory.